Hello, this is Amy, and for the next hour, I will be reading from the Sunday, June 7th issue of the Democrat and Chronicle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Cover story: Best Bites in Rochester. These classic restaurants have withstood the test of time and remain loved by locals. Local faves you've got to try. These longtime Rochester eateries serve up good food and nostalgia. Tracy Shoemaker, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. It's common knowledge that the food business is a tough one. The hours are long, the work is hard, and the margins are small. That's why it's remarkable when restaurants remain in business with more or less the same approach for decades. It means they're doing something right, most likely serving delicious food, creating an inviting environment, making its customers feel welcome, or a combination of the three. These old school eateries have been around for more than 60 years. They are humble restaurants, delis, and markets that date back to the 1960s or earlier. They are locally owned, mostly family-run establishments that have retained their core identities through transitions in generations and ownership. When you walk through their doors, you feel like you're stepping into somewhere authentic that stood the test of time. This story focuses on Rochester and its suburbs, but we've also included some spots that are worth a short road trip. A few are seasonal, so check their websites and social media for opening dates. Charlie's. Charlie pronounced Riedel, opened his eponymous restaurant on Empire Boulevard in 1969. The family business is now in its third generation. It has been spruced up fairly recently, and the look is clean and bright. It doesn't scream retro until you order at the counter and the staffer remembers it without a computer screen. It will be communicated to the kitchen with a call of something like "1 Charlie, 1 order." It's known for burgers, plates, hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, and fish fry, served every day it's open. Be sure to pay a visit to the condiment bar and help yourself to a paper cup of pickles. Go 1843 Empire Boulevard, Penfield, and 552 Route 104, Ontario, charlieswebster.com. 3140 County Road 10, Canandaigua, charliecanandaigua.com. Don's Original. Don Barbado Sr. and his brother-in-law, Bob Burrell, opened Don and Bob's in the Seabreeze area of Irondequoit in 1945. The name was changed to Don's Original in the 1970s. In 1991, the Barbado family sold the restaurant to Terry Klee, who had worked at Don and Bob's as a teenager. Elena and Rio Alderman purchased the location in 2025. They put their own touches on the place and added more outdoor seating, but the atmosphere hasn't changed too much. Burgers, hots, grilled food, and custard remain staples. Go 4900 Culver Road, Irondequoit, 585-323-1177, donsoriginal.com. Fox's Deli. Irving Fox opened a deli on 2nd Avenue in New York City in 1929, the week before the stock market crashed. The business survived. It was near the Jewish Theater District, and Jewish celebrities like Milton Berle were regulars. Fox moved his deli to Joseph Avenue in Rochester in 1943, and then to 12 Corners in Brighton in 1962. Fire destroyed the business on February 1st, 1974. When Shelley Fox, his son, reopened Fox's Deli in Todd Mart Plaza, now Winton Place, in 1975, he made the difficult decision to make it a non-kosher establishment. The decor has lots of personality with a pink and aqua color scheme and comic book style caricatures of their sandwiches and their namesakes lining the walls. The menu focuses on deli sandwiches and soups. Its Reuben is available in half-pound, 1-pound, and 2-pound versions. In 2022, brothers Alex and Jason Reinwald purchased the deli. Since then, they've added bagels and opened a bagel shop on Park Avenue. Go 3450 Winton Place, Brighton, 585-427-8200, foxdelirock.com. Littman's Kosher Market. Littman's Kosher Market dates back to 1919 when Morris Littman, a World War I veteran, together with Benjamin Sanzel, opened a kosher meat market in Rochester's 8th Ward, where many Jewish delis and kosher markets were located. The business moved several times over the subsequent decades following its customer base until it landed in 1972 at its current location at 1482 Monroe Ave. In 1993, Aaron Baruch purchased the business after apprenticing at the shop for 4 years. He sold the business to Naphtali and Anna Hanau upon his retirement in 2025. Littman's is the last kosher market in the area and the only kosher market between Cleveland and Albany, New York. It serves a menu of New York-style deli sandwiches and other prepared foods for takeout. Go 1482 Monroe Ave, Brighton, 585-271-7886, littmanskoshermarket.com. Max Drive-In. Max Drive-In, a cheerful, nostalgic eatery in Waterloo, opened in 1961. It serves hot dogs, hamburgers, and other classic fare, but the must-order item is the root beer float, a frosted mug filled with Richardson root beer and topped with a tall, swirly column of soft-serve vanilla ice cream. Eat on stools at the counter or at picnic tables in its open-air building, or take advantage of car hop service. It will reopen for the season in early April. Go 1166 Waterloo Geneva Road in Waterloo, 315-539-3064, facebook.com. Orbaker's Drive-In. Orbaker's Drive-In restaurant in Williamson, Wayne County, was founded by Myron Orbaker in 1932. It's changed ownership twice since then, but it has retained its vintage charm. Sit on fire engine red stools at a counter, at booths in a separate dining room, or at picnic tables on a spacious lawn outside. It serves an extensive menu of burgers, hot dogs, ice cream, and other classics. Since Bob and Dawn Heinzelman purchased it in 2023, they've added a few barbecue sandwiches from their nearby restaurant, Heinzelman's Barbecue Pit. Be sure to try its Dutch sauce, either on a sandwich or for dipping one of its fried items. Go Orbaker's Drive-In Restaurant, 4793 Route 104 in Williamson, Wayne County, 315-589-9701, orbakers104.com. Original Candy Kitchen. George Bousalis, a Greek immigrant, founded what was then called the Williamson's Candy Kitchen in 1890 in Williamson. It was originally a confectionery and soda fountain until Bousalis added sandwiches to the lineup. Now called the Original Candy Kitchen, the combination restaurant and candy store is being run by its 4th generation. It serves classic diner fare for breakfast and lunch, including commendable omelets. But the big attraction is the tempting display of truffles, creams, caramels, clusters, molded chocolates, and lots more when you walk in the door. One taste treat I haven't seen elsewhere: peanut butter sponge candy. Yes, they have the classic version too, enrobed in milk or dark chocolate. Go 4069 West Main Street, Williamson, 315-589-9085, originalcandykitchen.com. Rockies. Joseph and Louise Mistrella, who both immigrated to Rochester from Italy as children, opened Rockies as a bar in Rochester's Italian neighborhood in 1949. When customers started asking for meals, Louise cooked up simple Italian-American fare. The Italians have since left for the suburbs, and Rockies is one of the few remaining Italian outposts in the neighborhood. Various family members have run it since then, cooking up longtime family recipes in the same small kitchen, equipped with a 10-burner stove and 2 ovens. The place hasn't been updated much over the years. It's a hodgepodge of history, crammed into a bar and 2 small dining rooms. Rockies made the USA Today Restaurants of the Year list in 2025. Go, 190 J Street, 585-232-9717, RockiesOnJStreet.com. Rubino's Italian Food Market. Peter Rubino came to Rochester from Sicily in 1947. 10 years later, he opened a shop selling cold cuts and imported cheeses on Portland Avenue near Norton Street. When road crews flooded the store at lunchtime, he'd slice the end pieces of meat and stuff them in a loaf of fresh bread, selling them for 99 cents each. In 1967, he bought the current property at 1304 East Ridge Road in Irondequoit and opened a sub shop in a small house on the site. By the early 1980s, it expanded into a larger building, and the Portland Avenue store closed. There used to be several sub shops, but now there are 2, in Webster and Sodus Point, which operate as franchises. The heady aroma of cheeses in Italian fare makes an unforgettable first impression. The shelves are loaded with Italian products. Among the takeout options are baked goods, espresso beverages, pizzas, made-to-order subs, and prepared Italian dishes. Go, 1304 East Ridge Road, Irondequoit, 585-544-5680, rubinos.net. Shaller's Drive-In. Shaller's Drive-In, a popular destination near Lake Ontario in Greece, dates back to 1956. Brothers Joe and Ken Schaller, who were Eastman Kodak Company workers at the time, pooled their resources to open a hamburger stand on a patch of swampland on Edgemere Drive. Except for a couple of expansions, one of which added indoor bathrooms, the eatery has remained largely the same since then. The cartoony image of a smiling chef sits alongside a neon sign atop a red shingle-topped brick building. It's an especially popular destination in the summer when customers sit at picnic tables, cool off with lake breezes, and savor ground rounds, hots, and custard. The building that houses the Irondequoit location on East Ridge Road was listed for sale in 2025, but remains open in the meantime. Go, 965 Edgemere Drive, Greece, 585-865-3319, shallers.com. Seneca Farms. Seneca Farms in Penn Yan, near the north end of Keuka Lake, was established in 1950 as a creamery. It bottled milk and made homemade ice cream, distributing its products by milk trucks, but also via the first drive-through window in the Finger Lakes, which remains in operation to this day. Joseph Trombley purchased the business in 1976. The ice cream shop in front serves 50 flavors of homemade ice cream and various other ice cream treats. The counter service dining room in back focuses on hand-breaded fried chicken and other classics. Its walls are adorned with Coca-Cola memorabilia. In back is a lawn and pavilion with picnic tables. Go, Seneca Farms at 2485 State Route 54A in Penn Yan, Yates County, is a seasonal business that is open daily from the first Thursday in March through the last Sunday in October. 315-536-4066, SenecaFarmsNewYork.com. Stever's Candies. Stever's Candies has been a Rochester institution since 1946, when Douglas and Hilda Stever opened their first shop on South Goodman Street in the South Wedge. It moved to 623 Park Ave in 1960. In November 2022, the Stever family sold the business to John and Eric Vangelo, who embarked on a major remodel. Walls and a staircase were removed, but the owners retained nods to history, including tin ceiling tiles over cashier stations. Black and white hexagon tiled floors at the store's center spell out established 1946. It also added gelato and a patio in front of the building. Last year, Stever's Candies moved its production operation to 620 South Ave in the South Wedge, and in 2025 it opened a small shop in the building. Go 623 Park Ave, 585-473-2098, steverscandy.com. Swan Market. A cozy building in a modest residential area in Rochester has been home to a German meat market for more than a century. It's still a meat market, but now it's also an eatery, where Rochesterians gather to enjoy hearty helpings of Oktoberfest-type fare year-round. Barry and Liz Fisher bought the market from Gunter Schwan in 2000. German fare is served for lunch. There's just a few communal picnic tables, so be prepared to sit shoulder to shoulder with other locals. Taxidermy, tchotchkes, photos, and memorabilia line the walls. Many items were donated by loyal customers. Swan Market was named to the USA Today Restaurants of the Year list in 2026. Go 231 Parcells Avenue, 585-288-5320, swanmarket.com. Tom Walls. Tom Walls got its start on March 19, 1955, when Tom Wall opened a Twin Kiss franchise on a lonely 1-acre parcel on routes 5 and 20 in Avon, Livingston County. That ice cream and root beer stand gave rise to Tom Walls, which became one of Rochester's favorite burger destinations. Over the years, Wall added ground steak sandwiches and hot dogs, followed by more food items, an outdoor pavilion, and in 1976, a dining room. Today, the restaurant has 7 locations and is owned by Bill Gray's Inc., another long-standing Rochester restaurant brand. It has a retro Happy Days type look and still makes its root beer in-house. Be sure to order a root beer float. Go. Locations in Avon, Brighton, Bushnell's Basin, Canandaigua, Fairport, Greece, and Newark, Wayne County. TomWalls.com. About your D&C team. With June comes the start of the D&C's tabling season. Michael Killian, Executive Editor, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. If all went well and if Saturday's weather cooperated, then representatives of the Democrat and Chronicle met members of the public in 2 Rochester locations on June 6th. The first Saturday of June in recent years has become the annual kickoff for our warmer weather community engagement efforts. As I've written before, we call this tabling. We set up a table at a festival or public gathering and meet local residents to talk about news and feature story ideas and of topics of interest to people who live and work and learn and contribute here in Monroe and Ontario counties. The year 2025 was our busiest tabling season yet. We showed up with our prize wheel and our story idea forms everywhere, from Pride Picnic at Genesee Valley Park to a Saturday morning family Halloween event hosted by the Victor Fire Department. We estimate we spoke face to face to many hundreds of people during the more than 15 events at which we tabled. Such connection is invaluable. In the 2020s, it's easy to live in a world of Zoom meetings and texting. While such communications technology breeds efficiency and immediacy, it is a poor substitute for face-to-face chatting. Historically, journalists are at our best when we can simply listen to people talk about their lives and about their concerns. There is nothing like an interview during which the reporter can ask follow-up questions that collectively amount to, "Please tell me more." On Saturday, and again if the weather cooperated, members of our team were present at a favorite event, the Square Fair at Aberdeen Square in Rochester, put on by the 19th Ward Community Association. From a pancake breakfast to a community parade to vendors to a stage filled with talented musicians and performers, the Square Fair never fails to deliver smiles and neighborliness. D&C staff members enjoy participating in some of the goings-on. In 2024, 2 journalists learned a bit about crafts. Last year, several dared to ride a mechanical bull. Me, I was not so bold. And at the Square Fair, as with nearly every other summer event, vendors selling lemonade are in great demand by our folks. Also on Saturday, we were to attend the Rochester Flower Fest at High Falls. This is a celebration of the 50th anniversary of the city's flower symbol. You might recall from history lessons that the Rochester of 2 centuries ago was nicknamed the Flower City because of all the baking mills that sprouted up with the newly burgeoning metropolis following the 1825 opening of the Erie Canal. Well, somewhere along the line, and please email me with the particular details, the Flower City became known as the FLOWER City. Perhaps this had something to do with the popularity of the annual Lilac Festival. In coming weeks and months, the D&C hopes to be present at the Jazz Festival, at the local semi-quincentennial celebration on July 12th, at the Clarissa Street Reunion, and several other events that bring so much richness to local life. Greater Rochester is a lovely mix of people and cultures and culinary traditions, and musical and artistic styles. Across all these events, our reporters and photographers soak up these many ingredients of local life. And with any luck, we share back these wonders of living in and around Rochester with you, our local readers. Michael Killian is executive editor. Reach him at mkillian@usatodayco.com. For Bello, health continues to be a priority. Points to drop in OD deaths, safety push. Caria Weaver, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Monroe County Executive Adam Bello delivered his State of the County address on July 4th at the Seneca Park Zoo to an audience of officials, community leaders, and guests. The county highlighted several projects and ongoing initiatives that center around the county's focused areas, which include food insecurity, public safety, public health, and economic development. The annual address comes as county officials point to a sharp decline in overdose deaths and continued investment in housing and public safety. County government isn't about a bureaucracy. It's about making life safer, healthier, more affordable for the people who live here, Bello said. It's about ensuring our taxpayers see real value from their investment and know that their government is working for them, not the other way around. Efforts toward food insecurity. During his address, Bello highlighted how changes to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program impacted residents across the county, placing thousands at risk of losing benefits. To ensure residents were informed of the changes, Monroe County's Department of Human Services mailed letters that outlined work requirements, reporting procedures, available exemptions, and steps individuals must take to remain eligible for SNAP. The county also held multiple in-person town halls to help residents who receive SNAP benefits navigate the changes and answer any questions. Bello also mentioned that over $800,000 in American Rescue Plan funding was made available to FoodLink, helping the company to purchase food for food banks throughout the county. In total, FoodLink will purchase and distribute over 564,000 pounds of food for families in need. This converts to more than 470,000 meals for our older adults, veterans, children, and families in our community, Bello said. Public safety efforts. During the address, Bello described many ways they are continuing to invest in public safety. The county, in partnership with Sheriff Todd Baxter and his team, opened the Regional Investigative Operations Center 6 months ago. Bello said the investment in the $7.3 million crime center is not only helping law enforcement solve crimes more quickly, but also it's helping prevent them from occurring in the first place. This year alone, the RIOC has assisted in more than 500 cases that includes supporting sheriff deputy road patrols and over 300 investigations, many involving active real-time incidents where every second matters, Bello said. Bello also highlighted their progress in making a transportation system that is safer and smarter. He announced that Monroe County will become the second county in New York State to develop and implement a Vision Zero traffic safety initiative. It's a collaborative, data-driven approach to eliminate traffic fatalities, and it will improve pedestrian safety across the county, Bello said. Vision Zero brings together all of our road safety initiatives that we are advancing. Public health. For Bello, public health continues to be a priority in the county, making note of the county's fight against the opioid crisis. Efforts that the county have established to combat the crisis include the Addiction Services Impact Team and launching a call to action campaign aimed at improving public awareness of naloxone, reducing stigma around substance use disorder, and promoting the county's opioid hotline. In the 2024 Medical Examiner's Overdose Report, Monroe County saw a 43% decrease in overdose deaths year over year, falling from 512 in 2023 to 292 in 2024, Bello said. That is the lowest number of deaths in our community since 2020 and significantly outpaces the national decline. Economic development. Bello also addressed the importance of economic development and housing in the county. Last year, the county provided $21.7 million in rental assistance and benefits to over 5,700 households. Bello said earlier this year the Monroe County Land Bank reached a major milestone by acquiring its first 3 properties in Greece and Gates. In addition to economic development, Bello said the county has made a renewed commitment to recreation, play, and outdoor experiences. 2 new playgrounds will open this year, right here in Seneca Park and across the river, a Grease Canal Park, Bello said. 2 new playgrounds will welcome families before the end of the summer. They will feature spaces that are more inclusive and accessible for all children. Toward the end of the address, Bello shared one of the county's biggest highlights, which is rebuilding the historical Children's Pavilion at Highland Park. I got a phone call from Governor Hochul, and she wanted to let me know that she is going to step up and that New York State is going to fill the funding gap that has existed for years, Bello said. We are finally going to get this project done in time to kick off our park centennial celebration. Bello also expressed his enthusiasm in the creation of the new tropics exhibit at the zoo, which is expected to be open by 2029. Carria Weaver works as the government and you reporter for the Democrat and Chronicle, with a focus on how government actions affect communities and neighborhoods in Rochester and in Monroe County. Local briefs. Cornhill garage sales return with deals across the neighborhood. Residents throughout the Cornhill neighborhood will hold garage sales from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. June 13th. Household goods, clothing, furniture, tools, toys, and electronics will be among the items sold. Shoppers are urged to bring reusable bags. Cornhill is south of downtown on the west side of the Genesee River. Yappy Hour lets dogs and owners explore MAG's grounds together. Stroll through the grounds of Memorial Art Gallery with your leashed dog and learn about MAG's outdoor sculptures and architectures during Yappy Hour on June 12th. You also will be able to create dog nose prints, draw your dog's portrait, and shop for dog merchandise during the event, which will be held rain or shine from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at 500 University Ave. Dog treats will be available. Admission is $10. People will be given a pass to come back to visit the museum without their pets. MAG asks that people bring dogs only if they will be comfortable around other pets and people. If they will not, you are welcome to come without your furry friend and still grab merch and participate in the other offerings, the gallery says. Dogs must be on a standard length leash, not a retractable leash, and cannot enter the gallery itself unless they are service animals. In addition, if dogs are left in cars, MAG staff will call the Humane Society. Inspiration. This little free library in Irondequoit is for the dogs. Steve Howe, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Dog walkers in Irondequoit might notice their pups keep dragging them to one particular spot, a little free library on Whipple Lane. While a big part of the appeal is the dog treats waiting inside, it's also fitting because the library is named for a fellow four-legged friend, Noel. Holly Corcoran named the library after her beloved dog when she started it last August. It's an approachable way to engage people. That it has a face, Corcoran said, and there's a little blurb about her inside, talking about her breed and how old she is. Little free libraries are part of the nationwide network with their online map showing locations all around the area, including several others in the Irondequoit area. Having seen them out and about, Corcoran decided to open one of her own. And I thought the location was perfect because I live right across from the elementary school. There's an ice cream shop on the corner, and we have a lot of walkers, Corcoran said. The love of libraries dates to Corcoran's childhood, when visits to the library and scholastic book fairs were some of her favorite part of school. That love of books and reading persists into adulthood. Being a former educator and now a therapist, I thought it would be a good place also to put inspirational stuff in there too, she said. The mental health messaging can be found on the doors and in numbers to call, both on the library itself and on its Facebook page. There are also pencils, erasers, stickers, and other things for kids to pick up on a visit. There's a leash holder for dog walkers and a bench for people to take a quick break on their walk. It's not just things that Corcoran has put in the library either. She's found dog treat donations for Noel and handmade bookmarks, CDs from local bands, and old Pokemon cards in it, placed there by community members. I just didn't anticipate how many people would be using it and all the different ways that people would find to connect with it, Corcoran said. That's one thing Noelle's little free library has done: build a sense of community with her neighbors. I've lived here for 22 years and I've met so many people who have been here even longer than I have and are finally like, "Hey, how are you?" Corcoran said. It's just literally just this box for sharing, and people just took to it, you know? Steve Howe reports on suburban growth, development, and environment for the Democrat and Chronicle. An RIT graduate, he has covered myriad topics over the years, including public safety, local government, national politics, and economic development in New York and Utah. Remarkable Rochesterians. Al Poulin Jr., 1838 to 1996. A native of Maine and a graduate of the University of Iowa Writers' Workshop, Alfred Al, or A. Poulin Jr., was a poet who began teaching English at what is now the college at Brockport in 1971. In addition to writing his own poetry, translating others, and co-editing the anthology Contemporary American Poetry, in 1976 he founded Boa Editions, a publishing house devoted to poetry that has achieved an international reputation. Its authors include Lucille Clifton, W. D. Snodgrass, Lee Young Lee, and Carolyn Kaiser, whose Yin, published by BOA, won the Pulitzer Prize in 1985. Memories. East Avenue transformed from rural retreat into site of industrialists' homes. Lara Becker, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. As part of our coverage of the millennium, Our Towns took a look each week in 1999 to 2000 at the history of communities in the Rochester area. Place. The East Avenue neighborhood has experienced repeated transformations. Idyllic rural retreat, horse race course, and home for industrialists' mansions. Amid the rambling houses and tree-lined parcels of land lived the founders of Eastman Kodak Company, Western Union, and Bausch and Lomb. Key moments in history. To promote closer ties with Brighton, an East Avenue carriage service made its appearance in 1859, running 8 round trips daily between what is now the intersection of East Avenue and Winton Road and the Reynolds Arcade in downtown Rochester. In 1863, East Avenue property owners united to block extension of trolley car tracks. That line extended along streets parallel to East Avenue from downtown to present-day Winton Road. Toward the end of the 19th century, successful businessmen in the paper, shoe, and chemical industries moved on to the avenue, including James G. Cutler, inventor of the mail chute. The demolition of his home in the northwest corner of East Avenue and Merriman Street prompted the development of Rochester's preservation districts. In place of the Cutler home stands the Union headquarters for clothing workers. The new century brought changing technology, and the face of East Avenue changed too. An increasing number of cyclists appeared, and 3 of the stores west of Alexander Street toward downtown became bicycle shops. 2 of the main saloons became ice cream stores. By 1910, East Avenue also boasted the city's leading social clubs for men, including the Rochester Club and the Genesee Valley Club. Before the Depression, a half-dozen new mansions appeared, including one owned by George Eastman. Most famous residents. George Eastman, founder of Eastman Kodak Corporation and a philanthropist. His concern for hospitals, dental clinics, and other welfare agencies brought a steady stream of visitors to his house at 900 East Ave. Hiram Sibley founded Western Union, a franchise made up of smaller telegraph companies. When Eastman was still a bank teller, Sibley was the richest man in Rochester. Sibley family members occupied properties on East Avenue from the 1860s until the 1980s. One of their former homes is now headquarters for rural opportunities at 400 East Avenue. Oliver Culver, whose house at 70 East Boulevard is one of the oldest in the city. It is still a private residence and considered an important federal-style house. Culver was one of Rochester's early pioneers, and he helped lay out East Avenue and the old town of Brighton, later annexed by the city. His house was originally located at the northeast corner of East Avenue and Culver Road, where it operated as a tavern. Information for this report, originally published on June 2, 1999, was provided by Blake McKelvey's East Avenue's Turbulent History, Rochester History, Volume 33, Numbers 2 and 3, April and July 1966, and Cynthia Hawk, Architectural Research Coordinator at the Landmark Society. Community. Fine bagels set to come to Brighton. Tracy Shoemaker, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. The owners of a cozy bagel shop on Park Avenue are at work on a new bagel shop, but with significant differences from the first. Brothers Jason and Alex Reinwald will open Fine Bagels in a small strip mall on Monroe Avenue in Brighton, near Pittsford. The brothers purchased the longtime Fox's Deli in 2022. In 2024, they opened the Bagel Shop by Fox's at Park Avenue and Oxford Street. The grab-and-go shop offers classic flavors of bagels, as well as breakfast sandwiches and coffee. Its bagels are also sold at Abundance Food Co-op and served at Cafe Sasso, Farmhouse Table Midtown, Java's Cafe, Gines, New City Cafe, and other locations around town. That shop is now churning out 7,500 bagels per week in a small space on equipment that's less than ideal for the quantities they are making, Alex Reinwald said. It has a thriving wholesale operation in part because of a fire that heavily damaged Brownstein's Bagels in Brighton last fall. Although that longtime business had closed its storefront in 2022, it still had a significant wholesale operation. Brownstein's closed for good after the fire, and some of its wholesale customers reached out to the Bagel Shop by Fox's for bids. They now supply bagels to the Rush Henrietta Central School District, the University of Rochester campus, Strong Memorial Hospital, and others. Fine Bagels at 2240 Monroe Avenue will be located in a 3,200 square foot section of the space that used to house Joval's formal wear. New equipment, together with a larger space, will enable the Reinwalds to more than double their capacity and take on more wholesale customers. It will also sell breads like rye and challah and will be whipping cream cheese on site. Eventually, they'll be able to add new bagel flavors as well, Reinwald said. Fine Bagels will be a fully certified kosher bakery. The Reinwalds received some business funding through a foundation in the local Jewish community which required a kosher operation. It was a win-win for the brothers. We want to integrate a little bit more with the Jewish community and Brighton in general, Reinwald said. It's pretty exciting for us. Fine Bagels, Fine is their mother's maiden name, has been given its own brand to differentiate its kosher approach, but it will be following the same bagel recipes from the Bagel Shop by Fox's, which already comply with kosher guidelines. Fine Bagels will also provide bagels and breads to the Fox's Deli and the Bagel Shop by Fox's. The brothers' two existing businesses are not kosher, and they are working with local rabbis on the kosher certification and to fine-tune the details. The retail shop will be divided into two spaces and will serve dairy, cream cheese in particular, on one side, but not on the other. Fine Bagels will not serve any meats, and it is unlikely that it will offer breakfast sandwiches. It will likely offer traditional fishes served with bagels. The owners are targeting an August opening date. Whatever happened to Don and Bob's? Restaurant institution often changed hands. Alan Morell, special to the Democrat and Chronicle. Don and Bob's was a beloved restaurant on Monroe Avenue in Brighton that was called an institution and a landmark, and known mostly for its ground rounds, never called hamburgers, and its top secret hot sauce and custards. The eatery was near Brighton High School for nearly half a century. Little League coaches brought their players there for post-game snacks. High school kids went there for inexpensive first dates. Regulars brought out-of-town guests, and generations of families returned year after year to dine and rekindle memories of yesteryear. Everyone, it seemed, enjoyed the madcap, frenetic pace and ambiance of good food served fast, but not fast food. Don and Bob's later added a wider variety of menu items and then scaled back again as ownership of the business changed. And while ties to the place still exist, the Brighton restaurant is just a memory. Don Barbado Sr. started the business in 1945 with his brother-in-law, Bob Burrell. They opened their first restaurant in the Seabreeze area of Irondequoit, which still remains but is now named Don's Original. 9 years later, the second, larger Don and Bob's, the subject of this column, debuted at 2075 Monroe. The place was an immediate hit, as noted in a 1982 Times-Union story by Sherry Jacobson. When Don and Bob's first opened on Monroe Avenue in 1954, police officers were called in to direct the heavy flow of traffic, Jacobson wrote. It quickly became a gathering spot for teenagers from Brighton, Pittsford, and the city. Families flocked to buy the 40-cent ground round burgers and 20-cent Cokes in the almost carnival atmosphere. One longtime customer told Jacobson that Don and Bob's filled a real need in the community. There wasn't any place like it around. A 1967 fire destroyed the Monroe Don and Bob's. More than 400 sad customers reportedly wrote letters to Barbado encouraging him to rebuild. As news accounts reported, fourth graders offered their allowances. Barbado did indeed rebuild, and the crowds returned. In 1973, Barbados sold the Monroe Avenue business to a group of businessmen. That's when things got a bit confusing. The name of the Seabreeze Eatery was eventually changed to Don's Original, but many still called it Don and Bob's. Grilled food, sandwiches, and custard remained the staples at both restaurants. In late 1981, the father and son team of Max and Jeff Springett became owners of the Monroe Avenue restaurant. Jeff Springett was the owner of the wildly popular restaurant nightclub Red Creek Inn. He announced plans to add dining choices like chicken wings, a vegetarian section, baby back ribs, baked goods, and specialty buffets featuring Mexican, Jewish, and Italian foods. Springett promised he wouldn't mess with the mainstay ground rounds, hot dogs, and custards, calling them the Academy Award winners. As he told Kathy Lindsley in a 1981 Times-Union story, it'll be the good old Don and Bob's with a little Red Creek thrown in. Barbado died in 1982. His obituary cited his generosity and called the Brighton Don and Bob's one of the area's most popular restaurants. Barbado's family still ran the Don's Original in Seabreeze. By 1988, the Springetts sold Don and Bob's to Richard Fox, who owned a slew of Wendy's old-fashioned hamburger restaurants locally and in other states. Fox announced no intention of changing it at this time, but indeed he did. Dozens of items were removed from the menu. Fox said he was going back to the basics. As James Goodman reported in a 1988 Democrat and Chronicle story, white paper covers entire sections of a menu that once featured about 100 choices. Gone are the eggplant parmesan and the tangy tortillas. Some customers, Goodman reported, said they had stopped going to Don and Bob's during the Spring-It years because they said the menu was not what they had remembered and the crowds had gotten out of hand. They planned to give the new Don and Bob's a chance. Others told Goodman that the ownership change robbed the place of its bustle. Fox said some in the community doubted his motives and said, "We never had the intention to making it into another Wendy's. But Don and Bob's, for better or worse, has changed again." In 1991, the Barbado family sold Don's Original in Seabreeze to Terry Klee, who had worked at Don and Bob's as a teenager. 5 years later, Klee announced his plans to open another Don's Original at 2545 Monroe Ave, just a half a mile or so southeast of Don and Bob's. Klee said he considered other areas, but "I always considered the Don's Original name has more of an impact on Monroe Avenue in Brighton than any other place in the world." Don and Bob's finally closed in 2001 and was demolished and replaced by a Canandaigua National Bank and Trust branch. Then Brighton Town Supervisor Sandra Frankel said, "It's always sad when an icon of the community, a decades-old institution, closes." The Monroe Avenue Don's Original has since become a Tom Walls restaurant. Don's Original still exists in Seabreeze, and another Don's Original opened in Penfield in 2002. The latter place advertises itself as a full-service sports bar, including beer and wine. Morrell is a Rochester-based freelance writer. This article was originally published July 26, 2015, as part of the Whatever Happened To series. Obituaries. I'm not able to read the whole listing for each individual, just their name, age, and city or town. For more information, call 716-821-5555. Tracy Barnard, 69, Hobe Sound, Florida. Richard J. Dick Belair Jr., 72, Hamlin. Roger W. Boyley. June S. Borkus, 92, Penfield. William A. Bill Carter, 83, Hilton. Henry J. Sinty, 97, Victor. Dolores Ann Dee Cummings, 61, East Rochester. Germano Nino DiGilarmo, 95, Webster. Justin Emmett Doyle. Margaret Margot Firmer, Rochester. Mason B. Fitch, Rochester. William E. Foster. Verna Gianavola, 83, Webster. James Long Hale, 75, Ontario. Robert M. Bob Hardees, 83, Irondequoit. Shirley B. Hoyt. Francis W. Keenan, 90, Brockport. Diane Kingsley, 69, Rochester. Jesse Reagan Lucas, 77, Rochester. Bernard Patrick Lynch, 74, Farmington. Timothy Melvin Minard, 86, Rochester. Lynn Herring Morgan, 81, Dunedin, Florida. Diane Nusatelli, 87, Webster. Dixie Okenrider, 85, Ionia. Gloria Pilato, 84, Webster. David C. Pixley, 86, Rochester. Trudy Reich, 90, Longs, South Carolina. Ronald P. Reynolds, Rochester. Anna Sarancini, Riel, 91 Gates. Angela Casali, Sinecor, 95 Rochester. Barbara Ann Smithgall, 55 Chili Webster, Stratham. Annette C. Stanton, 83 Sun City Center, Florida. Marianne Stedman, 84 Rochester. Bernice Stid, 76 Chili. Sally Stuckey, Rochester. Donald G. Suter, 95 Churchville. Emma Tata Giuliano, 85 Gates. La Thamavong, Rochester. David H. Wilcox. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the Sunday, June 7th issue of the Democrat and Chronicle. Your reader has been Amy. Thank you for listening.